independent judiciary. He criticizes individual judges and the court system in general. He has gone so far as to preemptively blame future terrorist attacks on the judiciary for putting a stay on his executive order. I have not heard a president, I can't recall a president in history doing something like that, certainly not in my lifetime. And let's look at the facts. Our president all too often seems fact-averse. I've experienced that personally, but much more importantly in general. Not one terrorist attack has been perpetrated on U.S. soil by a refugee from one of these countries. Not one. Since 1975, 3,024 Americans have been killed on U.S. soil in a terrorist attack. I know that painfully because some of them are people I knew who died at 9/11 in that awful, vicious, horrible attack that still stays with me every day. I wear the flag, this flag, in my lapel in memory of those who were lost and have since 9/12, 2001. So I'm aware of the danger of terrorism. But of those 3,024 Americans killed, zero of these deaths were the result of an attack by a person from one of the countries listed in the ban. And you know where I got that information? Not from some liberal publication, but from the libertarian-leaning Cato Institute. I hope the president's not going to attack them now. What are the threats to terrorism? The great threats? If you ask the experts, they are two things above all: the lone wolves and the visa waiver program. The lone wolves caused the terror recently in both San Bernardino and Orlando. American citizens importuned by the evil ISIS, American citizens who were probably disturbed or off base in a lot of ways, and ISIS's propaganda got to them and they did acts. Nothing in the president's law would have stopped them, even if it were in effect the president's proposed law. The visa waiver program, that's the gaping hole. The visa waiver program tells 29 countries, you can send people here without going through extensive checks and background checks. And there were mainly countries that were friendly, for instance, the countries of the EU. But what's happened recently, Mr. President, is that those countries have become a place of refuge for terrorists, people trained by ISIS. Belgian citizens, French citizens perpetrated the horrible attacks in those countries. And one of those terrorists could, God forbid, get on a plane, come to America with few questions asked. The president's proposal does nothing to stop that. The president's proposal, if anything, encourages lone wolves because it makes them even more of an outcast. And that's not my words. That's Senator John McCain's words. And he's one of the greatest experts in this body and in this country on terrorism. So if the president wants to do something on terrorism, instead of these back-of-the-envelope, quickly put together, shabbily put together proposals, he ought to study it, talk to the experts, and certainly close these two or greatly decrease the danger of terrorism from these two places. So to blame judges for future attacks because they didn't pass this law when not a single American has died because of people coming from these countries, and leave open these other two gaping loopholes, I want to work to close them right now. I'll work with the president. I'll work with Senator McCain. I'll work with our Republican colleagues. We all will on this side of the aisle. But the president puts together, again, something that didn't seem to have much thought, didn't seem to have much coordination. We all know, despite the fact that the admirable General Kelly took the lance and said, oh, I'll take the blame, we all know that didn't happen. He was not consulted at length, nor was his department. And now the president seems to preemptively say, well, if there's terrorism, blame the judge? What kind of, this is dangerous that he says this. It's dangerous because it diverts us from going after the big gaping loopholes of terrorism. Lone wolves, visa waiver. It also underscores the fact, Mr. President, that we need judges who are going to be independent of this president. If this president can attack the judiciary the way he does, if this president has so little respect for rule of law or for separation of powers, our last and best refuge are the courts. So this new nominee to the Supreme Court has to pass a special test, in my opinion, a true independence from the president. I worry that he doesn't have it. His answers to my questions, I won't go into them today, were disappointing in terms of that independence. You can't just assert I'm an independent person, which he did. You have to show examples. I await them. He said, when I met him, he said, well, I'm disheartened. He said it to me, he said it to Senator Blumenthal, he said it to Senator Sass, to whisper in a closed room, behind closed doors, to a senator that I'm disheartened and not condemn what the president has done to the judiciary and not do it publicly. What he did does not show independence. It shows an ability to desire the appearance of independence without actually asserting it. And there's even more reason to do it now because the president, I don't know how, I don't know who told him about those meetings, but the president tweeted that Judge Gorsuch didn't say those things, as mild as they were, and at least in my opinion, as insufficient they are to showing independence. To whisper to a senator but to refuse to say anything public is not close to a good enough show on independence. So, from my view, not a good start for Judge Gorsuch. Not a good start. I haven't made up my mind completely. I'm willing to. There's going to be a process. There are going to be papers filed. There's going to be hearings. Judge Gorsuch may go further. But right now, it's an uphill fight to get my support. Now, while this president's attacking everyone under the sun, most of which with no basis in fact, just an assertion. And by the way, and I'll talk about this more later, Mr. President, if we become a nation where facts don't mean anything, the sun will set on this great country. We've always been a fact-based country. The Founding Fathers had different views, but they never disagreed on the facts as they debated things in Philadelphia for the Declaration, for the Constitution. In this chamber, where we've had great senators, the Clays and the Websters and the Calhouns, they never disputed the real facts. Neither, in my opinion, has any president, Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, until this one. And he just seems to make it up as it goes. And so today, he attacked not only my colleague, Senator Blumenthal, in what I thought was a cheap way, but he attacked John McCain, one of the most respected voices on national security. John McCain voiced his views on what happened in Yemen. Most of the independent reports corroborate what John McCain said. The president, of course, said it was a great success. I don't know if anyone believes. He's saying so many things that are not fact-based that I don't know if anyone believes him anymore. It's amusing, except it's not. It's sad, as he would say. And that's not the first time he's impugned a Republican senator from this chamber. He's had harsh words for the senator from Nebraska, Ben Sass. Ben is one of the most independent, thoughtful senators on either side of the aisle that I have ever come across. I really respect that man. We've spent some time together. We see each other in the gym. He's attacked the senator from South Carolina, my friend Lindsey Graham. He's attacked the senator from Florida. He's attacked the senator from Kentucky, the junior senator from Arizona, and so many others. So I would ask my colleagues, who I know care about this chamber, and the senator from Utah's heartfelt plea that we can get over these bumps in the road and start working together is one I feel and share. But are we going to let this new president, who seems to have so little respect for other institutions and other people than himself oftentimes, are we going to let him force us to change the rules of this great body? He immediately demanded a changing of the rules on the Supreme Court. I hope not. I hope not. So, in conclusion, Mr. President, I hope that these attacks on an independent judiciary are restrained. I hope my colleagues will join some of us in voicing discontent with those attacks and asking the president to cease and desist. I hope the president himself will stop attacking senators personally, whether it be the senator from Connecticut, a Democrat, or the senator from Arizona, a Republican, which just happened this morning. And I hope that we will not let the president intimidate us into changing the way this body works, and instead we try to come together, not let him divide us. With that, Mr. President, I yield the floor.
President.
The senator from Utah.
Mr. President, this has been a nice morning for me. To have both